In version 4.5, Oxygen introduced an Emmet integration, which is a very interesting improvement for developers. And with OxyProps version 1.8 that I just released, Oxygen Emmet becomes even better and much more powerful. So if you are interested in Emmet and how it works in Oxygen and how it can be even better combined with OxyProps, let's have a look. We are now in Oxygen. I'm using version 4.7 beta 1. And if you have never used Emmet, the first time you want to use it, it can be a little tricky to find where it is located. So let's have a look. You have to reach your Add Element, and I will zoom so you can better see your Add Element menu. And when you click, you get the usual field to search for components and the component list. If you want to switch to Emmet, you just have to click on the magnifying glass and this will switch to the Emmet input file. And when clicking again, it toggles back to the Elements panel. And we can now type Emmet abbreviation. Using Emmet can look a bit confusing at first, but you will see that it's very easy to use. For example, if I want to add a section, I just have to type section, and this did insert a section. Inside of my section, I can type P to add a paragraph, and I get a paragraph of text. Okay, so that was not fantastic, but what's interesting is that you can chain your elements. So instead of typing section and then a paragraph, I can tell Emmet that I want a section, and then using greater than, and if you are familiar with CSS, you will recognize the child selector. So I will say that inside of my section, I want an H1, for example, a heading level 1, and I type plus, once again, the CSS selector for a sibling, and I want a paragraph. So this simple line tells that I want a section, and inside of my section, I want an H1 and a paragraph. So let's have a look, and we get a section with a heading and a paragraph. Okay, so up to now, this is native Oxygen Emmet integration. If you have Oxygen from version 4.5, you can do exactly what I just did. But one of the limitations I find in Oxygen is that you are very restricted in the HTML tags that you can output. You are limited to Oxygen elements and a very limited list of custom tags. And when you are building your website, you want your structure to be semantically correct, and then you want to use the proper HTML tags. So that's the first enhancement that OxyProps brings to Oxygen Emmet, is that it enlarges widely the list of HTML tags that you can create using Emmet. For example, I want a section, and inside of my section, I want an age group, which is an heading grouping element. And inside of my age group, I want an H1 and a paragraph. But then I also want another paragraph, and I want some text. For example, I want a mark element. I like this one because it's very visible. So mark is the tag, and if I open curly brackets, I can give content, marked text, for example, and we will see the resulting text. But I can also add a keyboard input, press enter, for example, etc. So with OxyProps Emmet enhancement, you have access to nearly all available HTML tags. If I press enter, and then let's have a look, we see that we have a grouping element. This is our age group with an H1, a paragraph, another paragraph out of the age group, a mark element, and a KBD element. And because I have OxyProps normalize activated, we have the predefined stylings for those HTML elements. Another enhancement is that when you use Emmet native Oxygen integration in your structure tree, you get divs, sections, divs, section. And I like to have a structure tree with pretty names that tell me something about the HTML tag that will be used. So the OxyProps improvement for Oxygen Emmet changed the pretty name that is created in the structure tree, and it's named with the actual HTML tag that will be used and the oxygen element that is used. So this one is a CT section, which is the oxygen element, and will have a section tag applied. This one is a CT div block and will have an age group applied, etc., etc. If we save and go and check our front end, and we inspect to check the HTML that was output, we see that we have a section, an age group. Inside of my age group, I have an H1, a paragraph, and then I have my mark element and my KBD element. So it's exactly working as expected. Perfect, so let's get rid of this. And what's also interesting with Emmet is that you can apply utility classes directly when you create your element. So for example, I will create a section, and this section will have a class of O-grid3, O-md grid1. So this will create a responsive grid. It will also have a gap of 4 and a padding block of 8. Okay, so this creates a grid, and now inside of my grid, I want an article that will be a card 2, and inside my article, I want an H3 plus a paragraph plus a link. And as this is a 3 columns grid, I want my article 3 times, so you see that I've wrapped my article into parentheses, and then I will say that I want this times 3 times. And this is the result. I get my section with a 3 columns grid, and inside my columns, I have articles with headings, paragraphs, and text. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you can already imagine how powerful this can be and what can be achieved with predefined code snippets. By the way, I am currently working on the document site where you will be able to copy and paste samples or examples of Emmet abbreviations. So you just have to copy from the site. It's not yet available. It will be available. It's not yet online. And I can come to my Emmet input field, paste the code I grabbed from the OxyProps documentation, and this gives me a predefined section. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I hope you like it, but maybe you will think it's hard to remember Emmet syntax and you don't want to have to type every time. So of course, I just show you that on the OxyProps documentation site, you will find snippets you can copy and paste. But as you know, OxyProps is about context menu that simplify your life. And with OxyProps version 1.8 comes an Emmet context menu. So when you have the Emmet input file active, you can right click and you will get this menu. So there are a limited choice of snippets for now, because I want to get user input about what's interesting to have in the menu. The target is not to have a huge library, but to have here the most useful ones. And for example, with the most useful, there are the section plus header, which are starters for creating new sections. And if you watch my previous video about ARIA landmarks, you know that one thing that's important is to link the section ARIA labeled by tag to the heading ID inside of this section to get the proper landmark. So in Oxygen, when you use the Emmet context menu with a section plus header, for example, this one, OxyProps will create a section, and inside of this section, a heading. And what you see here is a unique ID for this heading that is linked to the ARIA labeled by attribute of the section. And that's important because if I add another section, I don't want duplicate IDs, so I want this new section to also have a unique ID. So let's save and check our front end. Let's refresh. So we have 2 sections and 2 headings. And if this worked properly, you know that by inspecting our accessibility tree, we should find proper region landmarks. So let's check the accessibility tree. And that's correct. We find two regions, one with the first heading and a second one with the second heading. So this new improved Emmet with the context menu will allow us to create complex layout. For example, you will have access to the Holy Grail layout, which is a full layout with a header, footer, left and right asides, sidebars, and the main element. And you can see that everything was created for you with the proper semantic tags in your structure. And of course, we can create blueprints for a hero section, for example, with everything needed, heading, paragraph, CTAs, and a hero image. And we can create blueprints for our sections. This time, let's choose a centered header. And inside of my section, I will add a section body with a 4 columns grid. And you get very quickly a basic blueprint for starting styling your section. So I will not go through all the different options from the section menu. You get the point. Let me know in the comments what you think should be the most useful Emmet snippets to include in the context menu. If you want a more in-depth video on how to use Emmet and the different aspects of the Emmet syntax, let me know so I can plan to create one. Of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.